People always talk about simple IRA plans, but the question is, do they really know what a simple IRA plan is? According to research, 78% of Americans do not understand a simple IRA plan. So in today's conversation, I'm going to explain to you in easy, everyday English what a simple IRA plan is, and I'm going to do a little compare and contrast between simple IRA and 401k. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, folks, to another edition of the Awesome Sweetie Kiwi Show. How are you today? I hope you are doing fantastic. I'm doing marvelous, if you were to ask me. If you are doing as superb as I am, go grab a cup of coffee or a tea or vodka and let's roll. In today's convo, I'm going to explain to you in easy, everyday English what a simple IRA plan is. So today's skeleton, the skeleton of today's show is very clear. So we have definition. How does a simple IRA work? How to establish a simple IRA, the benefits of a simple IRA, the drawbacks of a simple IRA plan, and is a simple IRA plan right for you, and a simple IRA versus 401k, how to decide. Let's talk about the definition. Let's just break it down. A simple IRA. So simple stands for Savings Incentive Match Plan for Employees. So a simple IRA is a small company version of a 401k plan and is subject to many of the same rules as individual retirement accounts, the IRAs. So this workplace retirement savings account allows eligible employees to invest a portion of their pre-tax salary into an individual account and receive mandatory employer contributions. Okay, this is very important. Small businesses, generally those with 100 or fewer employees, sometimes offer workers a simple IRA in lieu of a 401k because, as the acronym implies, it's easier to set up and administer. So if you work for yourself, you are also allowed to contribute to a simple IRA, although there may be better retirement plan options for the self-employed, and we will talk about that in other shows. So this retirement plan, the simple IRA plan, is set up by an employer who is required to contribute on employees' behalf, although employees are not required to contribute. So in terms of income taxes, employee contributions are made with pre-tax dollars. Very important to remember. Additionally, the money will grow tax deferred and you will pay taxes on the withdrawals in retirement. So the contribution limits vary they actually vary by year. So in 2020, it was $13,500, and in 2021, it is $16,500 for employees age 50 and over. So what are the pros and cons here? The pros: employers contribute to eligible employees' retirement accounts at 2% their salaries, whether or not the employees do themselves. What I'm trying to say here is this is free money, right? For employees who do contribute, the company will match up to 3%. And you have to consider the fact that only employers with less than 100 employees are allowed to participate. Very important to remember that. So what are the cons here? The contribution limits for employees are lower than in a 401k, and the penalties for early withdrawals, 25% before age 59, are higher. So now let's talk about how a simple IRA works. So a simple IRA is as I was just telling you earlier, it's basically a retirement plan for small businesses, right? You got to have fewer than 100 employees. So what are the rules? Simple IRAs have many of the same investment, distribution, and rollover rules as other types of retirement plans. So the main drawback for some businesses might be the fact that simple IRAs require mandatory employer contributions. They're mandatory, all right? And employees might like that employer match, but they may be less happy about the lower contribution limits compared with 401ks and the lack of a Roth version. There is no Roth simple IRA. So the mandatory employer contribution is what makes simple IRAs different from some other employer-sponsored retirement plans. It's very important to remember. Now, what about simple IRA versus traditional IRA? So simple IRAs bear some similarities to a traditional IRA. So the contributions are tax deferred, meaning the amount you save up to your contribution limit reduces your taxable income for the year. And investment growth is tax deferred until you start taking distributions in retirement. What about simple IRA versus 401k? So in some ways, simple IRAs are similar to 401k plans. So eligible employees indicate how much, if anything, of a paycheck they want to contribute to the account, right? And the money is automatically diverted into the worker's individual retirement account. Now, I'll talk about this more in depth later on in the show. And in terms of, let me just kind of have, let me talk about the contribution limits. And again, as I said earlier, the contribution limits change every year. But for 2020 and 2021, they were $13,500 per year for those under age of 50, and people age 50 and older can make an additional $3,000 catch-up contribution. So employer contributions are mandatory and can be made using one of two methods. Only two. There are two methods. Option one, you can provide matching contributions up to 3% of the employee's pay, not limited by any annual compensation limits. That's option one. And option two, you can make non-elective contributions equal to 2% of the employee's compensation based on a maximum salary of $285,000 in 2020 and $290,000 in 2021. Again, those maximum salary limits vary every year. I want to talk to you now about how to establish a simple IRA. So opening a simple IRA is kind of it's similar to opening a traditional IRA. However, the thing here is that if you are a small business owner, there are additional reporting requirements and documents you must fill to establish the plan. Most IRA providers offer simple IRAs that you can open online. There are generally 3 steps to setting up a simple IRA plan. Number 1, you want to pick the type of simple IRA plan you want to use by filing either IRS Form 5305 Simple. This is if you're depositing contributions at a designated financial institutions, or you can use IRS Form 5304 Simple if employees are permitted to choose a financial institution for the account. So I'm showing you right now the IRS Form 5305 Simple, along with the link where you have information, all the info you need about that type of plan on the IRS website. So that's the first step. The second step here is that you need to provide eligible employees information about the simple IRA plan. And the third step is that you have to set up separate simple IRAs for each eligible employee using Form 5305S or 5305SA. We're showing you right now both forms, how they look like, the snapshots, as well as the links to the IRS website where you can have more information. One thing I want to say here is that if you work at a company that offers a simple IRA, your employer will have you fill out one of the forms that we just showed you on the screen to establish an individual account. So we're going to show the forms again. So we have first we're going to show you the Form 5305S on the screen. And then we're showing you 5305SA on the screen. Just before closing this section, I just want to say that as a small business owner, if you have fewer than 100 employees and you're interested in having and setting up a simple IRA, there are companies that actually take care of that kind of, you can outsource it. You have a payroll provider such as ADP, for instance, and they take care of everything. Like they just set up for you, so you don't have to worry about following the 3 steps that I just told you. But if you are interested and you don't have the cash to outsource it, then you can do it yourself. It's not as complicated. It's very simple. I'll be right back right after this. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, folks, to another session of the Awesome Sweetie Kiwi Show. We are still having a conversation today, and I'm explaining to you in easy, everyday English what a simple IRA plan is. let's talk about the benefits of a simple IRA. So what are the benefits for employers and employees? For employers, a simple IRA has a startup and operating costs that are generally lower than setting up a 401k plan. And that's just hands down. The costs are way, way, way lower. So employers get a tax deduction for their contributions to employees' accounts. So you have tax consequences and financial consequences, positive financial consequences and positive positive financial consequences and positive tax consequences. What are the benefits for employees? So employers must contribute to employee accounts as detailed in the session that I just spoke to you about earlier. Employees might consider that an advantage of simple plans, but for some employers may find that a rule can be a hurdle. In other words, in terms of the contribution. Employees don't have to sign up for salary deferrals to get the employee contribution if your employer chooses the non-elective 2% contribution option. And the thing I want to say here is that if your plan uses the elective salary reduction matching method, you must contribute to earn the match. Okay? And another benefit here is that eligibility requirements are low. So in general, you are eligible to participate in a simple IRA if you have received at least $5,000 in compensation during any 2 preceding calendar years and expect to earn at least that much during the calendar year of participation. But the thing is that the IRS also allows employers to offer these accounts to employees who don't meet the standards. And employer contributions vest immediately. So with no vesting period, you have 100% ownership of all the money in your simple IRA. And the IRS also lets individuals contribute to other retirement savings plans at the same time. That's pretty handy, right? Think about it. Let's say for example, if you have more than one job that offers an employer-sponsored retirement plan, you can contribute to multiple accounts. That's fantastic. Or if you also want to contribute to a traditional or Roth IRA. And other benefits include the fact that investment choices tend to outnumber what's offered in 401ks. So instead of being limited to whatever mutual funds a 401k plan administrator chooses, you can actually invest in stocks, bonds, mutual funds, and any other investments offered by the IRA provider. So those were the benefits of a simple IRA. Now let's talk about the drawbacks, right? So the contribution limits for simple IRA plans are lower than other workplace retirement plans. And those actually vary every year. So in 2020 and 2021, employees and solo business owners under age 50 are allowed to contribute, as I said earlier, $13,500 in a simple IRA per year versus $19,500 in a 401k and $16,500 versus $26,000 for age 50 and up. So you can see that actually this is a big gap here. Also, there is no Roth version of the simple IRA. This is a big drawback if you think about it, given the benefits of Roth IRAs and Roth 401ks. Okay, participant loans are not allowed. So although we actually in our show here we discouraged dipping into retirement savings early, if you need to, the simple IRA does not allow them, and you will pay a steep tax penalty for some early withdrawals. So in general, simple IRA distributions rules mirror traditional IRA rules, except for non-qualified withdrawals within the first 2 years of your participation. So for those, you'll have to pay an extra 15%, really 15% early withdrawal penalty on top of the standard 10% penalty. That means that if you tap into the money before age 59 and a half, and before you had the plan for 2 years, guess what? You will likely owe the IRS 25% of the money you take out in penalties, plus whatever income taxes you owe on it. That's pretty brutal if you really think about it. All right. And another drawback is that rollovers to another IRA or employer-sponsored retirement plan are subject to strict rules. So the 25% penalty mentioned that I just mentioned earlier also applies if you do a rollover into anything other than another simple IRA during the 2-year period after you first participate in the plan. So those are things you have to be very careful about before making any moves when you have a simple IRA before making a rollover move. So the big question here is that, is a simple IRA right for you? That's the million-dollar question if you really think about it. The answer depends on whether you are an employee or the employer. So for business owners, if you are a solo business owner or self-employed and your goal is to maximize your own retirement savings, there are other retirement savings plans that have higher contribution limits. So we have the solo 401k or a SEP IRA, SEP. So a solo 401k allows a business owner with no employees to contribute up to $57,000 in 2020 and $58,000 in 2021, with an additional $6,500 catch-up contribution if you are age 50 or older. So the exception to the no employees rule is that if your spouse earns income from your business. So that's for solo 401k. And then you have the SEP IRA. So SEP stands for Simplified Employee Pension Individual Retirement Account. That's SEP IRA. And it's a lot like a simple IRA. But like a solo 401k, the contribution limits are much higher, much higher. For example, you are allowed to contribute either 25% of compensation or up to $57,000 in 2020, $58,000 in 2021, whichever is less. And if you own a small business with employees, a simple IRA might be attractive if you want to offer your employees a retirement plan, but would like to avoid the extra administrative costs that can come with a 401k. Now, having said that, just keep in mind that some employees may still wish for a 401k because of its higher contribution limits. That's for the those are the answers to the question, is a simple IRA right for me if you are an employer? Now let's talk about for employees. So anyone who has access to the plan at work and wants to maximize their savings should contribute to the account. Otherwise, again, you are leaving free money on the table. Because remember, a simple IRA is kind of similar to a 401k, but with lower limits. Okay, so if you don't contribute to the account, you are leaving free cash on the table. If your plan provides, say, the automatic 2% employer contribution, you will get that money even if you elect not to divert any of your salary. If the employer contribution is offered by matching funds, you must sign up to contribute a portion of your own salary to earn the match. Remember, you can still save in other types of retirement savings accounts in addition to a simple IRA. Now, let's talk about, and this is an important element, people have been asking these questions, simple IRA versus 401k, how to really decide. The thing here is that startup cost and ease of setup often dictate the choice between retirement savings plans, right? So there are other factors to consider as well. So to help you decide which plan is best, you need to answer the following questions. Number one, why are you setting up a retirement plan? So for many small business owners, the answer is that they're trying to maximize their own retirement savings dollars. So if that's the case, contribution limits should weigh heavily in your decision. For high earners, especially the higher contribution limits of the 401k makes it a more attractive choice than a simple IRA. That's the first question. Second question is, how important is it to offer the Roth option? So as mentioned earlier, the IRS allows employers to offer a Roth 401k. Quick reminder though, folks, a Roth 401k is funded with after-tax contributions in exchange for tax-free distributions in retirement. There is no Roth version of the simple IRA. The account is subject to many of the same rules as a traditional IRA. In other words, contributions reduce your taxable income for the year, but distributions in retirement are taxed as ordinary income. That said, the IRS allows participants to save in both a simple IRA and a Roth IRA at the same time. The third critical question you need to ask here in terms of deciding whether you should go with a simple IRA versus a 401k is, will you need to adjust employer contributions? So although a nice perks to attract potential employees, employer contributions are not really required of companies that offer 401k plans. You also have the freedom to set vesting terms, which allows you to require employees to remain employed by you for a set time before taking ownership of your contributions to their account. employer contributions to employee simple IRA accounts are mandatory, though you can choose between two matching arrangements dictated by the IRS. And contributions to a simple IRA are immediately 100% vested. So I'm actually showing you on the screen right now. We have a nice recap of a simple IRA versus a 401k. So I'm going to show you the first table. We have a comparative table here. I'm going to show you the first table so you can see the pros and cons. And then I'm showing you the second table here. And then I'm showing you the third table. Again, this is all the elements that really are important when it comes to comparing and contrasting simple IRA versus 401k. All right, folks. One thing I also want to say here is that when it comes to simple IRA, you do have other choices. And this is an important element to think about. If you are self-employed or a small business owner, your options may not be limited to simple IRAs versus 401k. There is a variety of retirement plans at your disposal. For example, if you run a business with no employees, a solo 401k is worth considering, right? Because as the employer and your own employee at the same time, you are allowed to contribute a total of $57,000 in 2020 or $63,500 if you're age 50 or older, and $58,000 in 2021 or $64,500 if age 50 or older. And so you have that. So you have the solo 401k, and you also have the SEP IRA, as I said earlier. So a SEP IRA also has a high contribution limit for business owners and self-employed individuals, though there is no catch-up contribution for savers 50 or older. The drawbacks, like the simple IRA, a SEP requires employers to contribute to eligible employee accounts, and no Roth version is allowed. Okay. All right, folks, this is it for today's conversation. I want to quickly do a recap here. So today I was just talking to you about, I was explaining to you simple IRA in easy everyday English. So I talked about the definition, how does a simple IRA work, how to establish a simple IRA, the benefits of a simple IRA, the drawbacks of a simple plan, is a simple IRA plan right for you, simple IRA versus 401k, how to actually decide. Thank you so much for your attention. I really appreciate it. I will speak to you next time. But until then, remember, stay marvelous.